Welcome to my channel. What? Wait. Today, you'll be shocked to learn that our world already ended. 5 different times. You know, if you were to look at planet Earth's resume, you'd see it's had some really bad days at the office. And I'm not talking about a server crashing on meeting running long. I'm talking about full-on global-scale catastrophes that basically hit the reset button on the entire planet. Just let that sink in for a second. What if everything you know, the entire world, came to a screeching halt? And then it happened again. And again. 5 separate times, life on Earth was pushed right to the very edge of being snuffed out completely. Well, it did happen. And here's the crazy part. When the apocalypse comes knocking, it's not always the biggest, the fastest, or the scariest that pulls through. Nope. Sometimes it's the weirdos. So let's go meet them, shall we? Right, we're gonna take a little trip through time. We're gonna count down Earth's 5 absolute worst days, starting way back with the very first great extinction and moving our way forward to the one that, well, you've probably heard of. And there they are, there were 5. Look at those dates, from 444 million years ago all the way up to a relatively recent 66 million. Each one of these was a planetary game changer, and look at the enormous gaps in time between them. It just goes to show you, life is incredibly tough, but the universe, man, it really knows how to throw a punch. So for our first 2 apocalypses, pretty much all the drama was happening underwater. The land was still basically empty, but the oceans, oh, they were absolutely packed with life. The first extinction was a brutal 1-2 punch of climate chaos. First, a massive ice age hit, locking up all the water and making sea levels just plummet. Then, things warmed up way too fast, totally messing with the ocean's chemistry. 85% of sea creatures just gone. The second one is almost ironic, really. Life finally gets a foothold on land. These huge new forests spring up, but they pull so much CO2 out of the air that they accidentally trigger global cooling. This leads to massive algae blooms that choke the oceans, suffocating everything. Whoops! So who were the big stars back then? Well, you had your classic trilobites crawling around, you had these enormous sea scorpions, who had terrifying armored fish like Dunquosteus. But the real pioneers were guys like Tiktaalik, the first fish to kind of waddle up onto the shore and think, you know, this whole air thing might just catch on. Okay, now we get to the big one, the main event. If the other extinctions were bad days, this was the day life on Earth almost called it quits for good. There's a reason to call it the Great Dying. So before it all went wrong, the world was one giant continent called Pangaea, and it was awesome. It was crawling with these big, dangerous, saber-toothed animals called gorgonopsians. For the first time, life on land was getting really interesting. But it wasn't all just scary monsters. You also had creatures like the dinosaurs. They were these tank-like plant eaters that were, and I'm quoting here, just funny to look at. So you see, even the ancient world had its goofy-looking characters. And then it all caught fire. For hundreds of thousands of years, huge volcanic eruptions in Siberia just relentlessly pumped the air full of poison and greenhouse gases. The oceans turned acidic, the planet became a sweltering hothouse. The result? 96% of all species in the ocean vanished. It was the closest life has ever come to a total system wipe. But here's the thing about a catastrophe. From the ashes of the worst day in Earth's history, a new opportunity emerges. When one group gets wiped out, it leaves the door wide open for another. The fourth extinction wasn't quite as bad as the Great Dying, but it totally reshuffled the deck, and it cleared the stage for a brand new dynasty. So before this extinction, the top dog was a creature called Pustosuchus, which was basically a giant, terrifying land crocodile. But as Pangaea started to rip apart, another round of volcanic eruptions caused another climate crisis. Fjolgar couldn't handle it, but you know who could? These small, scrappy, and apparently just annoying little dinosaurs like Coelurphosis. They survived the chaos, and when the dust settled, they looked around and realized, hey, we've got the whole planet to ourselves. And that brings us to extinction number 5, the one you've all been waiting for, the one with the rock star ending. This is the story of the last day of the dinosaurs. By this time, dinosaurs were the undisputed kings of the planet. You had the icons, T-Rex, Triceratops, and of course you had some real weirdos like this little fella, Pegomastax, who looks like he was put on Earth purely for comedic relief. It was a rich, thriving, incredible world. And then On what seemed like any other day, a tiny glowing star appeared in the sky. At first, no one would have even noticed, but then it got brighter and brighter. Within just a few minutes, it was as bright as the sun itself, a terrible new star in the sky, getting closer and closer. The impact was beyond comprehension, the energy of billions of atomic bombs, all at once. Anything nearby was just vaporized. A tsunami, a wall of water over a mile high, roared across the oceans. The planet itself shook with earthquakes stronger than anything we can measure. And within the hour, superheated debris rained back down, igniting the world's forests and literally turning the planet's surface into an oven. With the blast, I was just beginning. All the dust and soot and vaporized rock thrown into the atmosphere blocked out the sun. Not for a day or a week. For maybe 10 years, the entire planet was plunged into darkness. Photosynthesis ground to a halt. The whole food chain just collapsed. The world became colder, dark, and dead. 75% of all life on Earth gone. The age of dinosaurs? Over in the geological blink of an eye. So after all the fire and the darkness, who was left to inherit this broken world? Why, once again, it wasn't the biggest or the strongest. It was the small, the infactable, the creatures who could burrow and hide and live on whatever scratch they could find in the ruined world. And in that power vacuum, our tiny little mammalian ancestors, who had been living in the shadows of the dinosaurs for millions of years, finally got their chance. And this right here really puts it all in perspective, doesn't it? The dinosaurs ran this planet for 164 million years. We, modern humans, have been around for about 300,000. It's a pretty humbling reminder of just how short our time in the spotlight has been so far. When you look at it this way, you realize life on this planet is unbelievably tough. It has been frozen, baked, poisoned, starved, and smashed by a rock from space. It survived 5 apocalypses. Which, of course, leaves us all with one final, pretty big question to think about. Goodbye. See you in the next video.